Hello and welcome back, everyone. Presenting on redefining sales, 4 states of consultative sales in a hybrid selling world, is Teneo Results President Lisa Leitch. Lisa has been successfully training and coaching sales leaders and their teams to transition their salespeople away from the standard product and price approach to have more purposeful business conversations with the ideal profitable buyers that drive results. Lisa Leitch, CSP ×2, is the first female to earn the dual designation of CSP, Certified Sales Professional, and Certified Speaking Professional. Teneo Results has been a CPSA partner for over 15 years. Now, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Lisa to start.
Thanks, Rupalyn. A great pleasure to be here at CPSA's Summit, and always a pleasure to work with you. And talking about consultative selling, certainly the cornerstone of CPSA's programs. So we're going to be talking today about how consultative selling has changed. It really is redefining sales in this COVID craziness. So we'll be looking at the 4 states of consultative selling, but looking at it in a different lens, where it is now having an impact in this new hybrid selling world. So at Teneo, we like to work with our clients to help them to know consultative selling principles, really integrate it into their sales process, and ultimately master, become those trusted expert sellers. Our mantra at Teneo is to work with sales leaders and their sales teams to be strategic, be proactive, and most importantly, be brave. And not just with any customers, but with the right customers. And that is exactly what we've seen so many sales professionals and leaders do during COVID, is be strategic, be proactive, be brave in order to grow their sales. So today we're going to be looking at, during the last 18 months, sellers were transitioning from road warriors to tech titans. In the new selling hybrid role, it's about how do you become a road warrior and a tech titan, and how you move through the 4 states of the consultative culture. We'll be looking at how will and skill is required to be successful in this new role, and the secret weapon that will catapult performance of all sales teams. We're going to encourage you to put questions throughout today's session. Rupalyn will be certainly fielding those questions, so please start putting them already into the Q&A box, and we'll be fielding those either through the presentation, and certainly we will have time at the end. So let's just take a look at, yes, I know we're all crazy, tired of talking about COVID, but it really has changed buying and selling roles. And the impact on the sales team is that you can now truly become both a road warrior and a tech titan. Great opportunity for salespeople to be able to maximize doing both. Last year in 2020, we saw many salespeople just trying to survive. And in 2021, as soon as we turned that new year of January 21st, most sales teams really started to have some great years. And as we move into that 4th quarter sprint, many sales teams are having their best year. Yet this is impacting sales. And the reason why some sales teams are having their best years, some cases it's based on industry. An example is the building material industry, where we do lots of work. They are absolutely having their best year based on demand. Yet it's also extremely stressful because of the supply and demand. There are also many other industries that are also having very, very successful years, and that's because their salespeople are absolutely maximizing their time. The opportunity to be able to blend face-to-face and virtual selling. I know myself, I was traveling every week on a plane, and I have to admit, I loved it. Now I really am enjoying sleeping in my bed every night. Today I'm actually here in downtown Toronto, and it's nice to be out. Yet it's also nice to be able to have that combination of both being able to work with that flexibility. So let's take a look at all the different roles in sales, because what's happened is inside sales, outside sales, technical sales, they've all become very blended or blurred. Some outside salespeople feel like they were originally demoted into inside sales, right? All sorts of different things, but it is impacting everybody. And so here's where, let's take a look at the role of the new hybrid sales role. McKinsey experts in all sorts of great information have put together some really, really interesting studies. And there's some stats. 85% of, and I'm just gonna, let's just take a look at this here. So if we look at this stat right here, 85% of organizations expect hybrid reps who interact with customers to actually be more of the norm in the next 3 years. Right? So it's going to continue to grow. This is not just during the COVID. 64% of B2B intend to increase the number of hybrid sellers over the next 6 months because this is going to become the role. And if we take a look at this, what do decision makers and business customers want? They say that 8 out of 10 actually say the omni-channel or the blended role is more effective than traditional methods. So again, some really, really interesting stats that actually prove that customers, leaders, organizations truly are finding it much, much more effective. Now, there are a few people who are still putting in their heels and digging in, right? So let's just maybe in the Q&A, let's just see how many people are actually really embracing this new hybrid role, right? Or would you prefer for things to be able to go back? So let's just see a little bit of dialogue that's going on. And Rupalin, if you can kind of let us know, we'll get some interaction. I'm really curious to see the people today who are watching this conference virtually. Do they want to continue to attend conferences virtually, sell virtually, or are they keen to actually have everything move back to the way it used to be, which is face-to-face? So Rupalin, if you can let me know what some of that feedback is, it'll be awesome to be able to just get a kind of a feel for what our audience is thinking today.
Sure thing, Lisa. And just a reminder to put your comment into the Q&A box, which is on your right-hand side. And I will be sure to read out those responses, Lisa.
Awesome. Thanks, Rupalin. It's always great to work with you, even when I put you on the spot like that. So let's take a look at what I'd like to talk about is redefining sales, because it really is being redefined. Yet there's some interesting things. I have been an advocate of consultative selling. It's certainly what made me successful in sales, helped me when I was a VP of sales, and I've for almost 20 years worked with sales leaders and sales teams, really trying to be able to deploy and adopt the consultative culture. So let's just take a look at, first of all, what is the definition of consultative selling? Because a lot of people think they are consultative sellers. The definition is defined as focusing on creating value and trust with the customer by exploring their needs, asking great questions before offering a solution. This is what we have termed and created the framework, the purpose framework, the consultative conversation. And we're going to look at what the varying degrees of consultative selling are. So as we go through the 4 states of consultative selling, I want you, whether you're a salesperson, inside sales, customer service, sales leader, or CEO, I want you to identify which one of these states best describes you and your sales team. So we'll have you actually be able to put that into that Q&A chat box. So the first state is the non-consultative culture. Next, we have the inconsistent consultative culture. Third, the adoptive consultative state. And fourth, the expert state. And one of my clients, Corey, he says, Lisa, I think there's a 5th state, and it's the entire organization. That's what's next. But today we're going to focus on the 4 states specifically for the sales team. So let's just take a look at this. So in detail, when we look at the consultative culture, the first state is non-consultative culture, quite often considered transactional selling. And it is defined as salespeople are busy taking orders. And we know many of you right now are really, really busy taking orders. So here's what it looks like. It's short, quick product conversations and transactions. Your team and the customers are in a hurry. It is more product and price focused. There's very, very little cross-selling, and the customers are asking for products, colors, quantities, and price. They don't expect anything more than for you to be able to react and serve. That's the first state. The second state is what we call inconsistent consultative selling. The sales team is really focused on helping because they have a great repertoire of customers who have become friends. So the salespeople are more focused on the relationship. They understand the client's needs, so they'll ask a few questions, but they don't always expand. Sometimes because they already know the customer very, very well, which can work in their favor or also be to a detriment. And when the salesperson hears an opportunity to provide information on a product or price, they're very, very quick to quote or even sell too soon. And we'll talk a little bit more about that selling too soon. The reality is your customers don't seek consultative conversations. It's up to the salesperson to have to navigate them. But in many cases, the salespeople are eager to please their customers because they're friends. And so they will provide the product and price and do exactly what the customers ask them to do, no matter what their intentions are. The customer is looking for promotions and friendly conversation. So that's the second state, inconsistent, because they intend to be consultative, but in a lot of cases, the customer will force them to be more focused on just talking about the products, the price, and order taking. The third state is what we call the adoptive consultative culture. Your sales team gets it. They know and breathe and integrate consultative selling. They're more focused on advising and selling solutions, not focused on selling products or promotions. So what does this one look like? It becomes much more of a consistent consultative habit. The sales professionals are prepared with questions to be able to expand. They do a great job of actively listening, being able to expand on those questions based on how customers are responding. Their solutions are focused on proposals, how this will solve a problem, and it very, very much aligns with here's your current situation, ideally what you're looking for, and here are solutions to help you accomplish that. So again, the proposals are very aligned. With customers, you end up with larger customers, larger projects, and not just any customers, the ideal profitable customers. The other aspect that we see in organizations is the other departments beyond sales become more customer focused. Customer service, engineers, operations, even the accounting team, because everybody is more customer focused. There's an increased confidence, importance, and alignment to be able to create a great customer experience and truly be there to provide solutions beyond just problem solving. So that's the third state. And the fourth state is the expert consultative culture. Your team is focused on not just your business, but your customer's business and the return on investment. So customers come to you for your expert advice and experience. I love these calls. When I'm in sales or even as the chief sales officer of our organization, I love it when customers come to me and say, Lise, we're planning for 2022. We want to involve you in the planning process. So they involve you in that process. These conversations are not just product, price, or solutions. They truly become business conversations with return on investment, because quite often companies performing at this state are not the cheapest by any means. However, they're really, really great at being able to show the return on investment and why the product may be more expensive, because in the long term, it's going to save money or efficiency. Your customers are not just customers. They are long-term trusted partnerships. And in some cases, these are exclusive partnerships. They only work with you. They may have a few other people in their back pocket, but you are absolutely their primary partner. Your organization has a strong reputation in your industry as being rated and known as being one of the number one and number two, the go-to resource. And the best, customers are raving and referring others to you. So not only do your customers call you involving in the planning process, you're hearing from other people because of what your customers are saying about you. So those are the 4 states of the consultative selling state. So let's find out. In the Q&A box there, I want you to state what consultative state is your sales team in. So Rupal, let's take a minute or two just to be able to hear what some of the audience participants are actually saying.
For sure. So for everybody attending, please feel free to put in which consultative state your sales team is in within the question and answer box. We have a little bit of a shyer group today, Lisa.
Okay. So you could be state number 1, state 2, state 3, or state 4. So Rupal, let me just ask you, you've had the opportunity to work with lots of different sales teams. I'm curious, Rupal, what state would you put most sales teams in?
That's a good question, Lisa. I would say that sometimes we're hearing that sales teams can be a little bit inconsistent and can be a mix of all states, or even, you know, sometimes 2 and 3, which is a lot of actually what we're hearing in the question and answer box now, Lisa. We're hearing a lot of inconsistency. We're hearing a range, a mix of 2, 3, and 4. I can see this 100%. We've got one person here that says more adoptive. Again, lots of ranges, 2 and 3. In between 2 and 3 is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing here as well, Lisa, our outside team for the most part is at stage 3. Most sales teams are in stage 2, in my opinion. Lots of engagement on this one. Good. But it seems to vary. Yeah.
And typically that's what we see, Rupal, is that teams are between that 2 and 3. So then let's find out, since we've got now people kind of getting involved and engaged, which is great, let's find out from those people who are on today's session, what do they feel, what is getting in the way? What's getting in the way? Because most people are saying 2 or 3. There's that little gap. Some people are saying 3. You know, what's getting in the way of either getting to that state 3 or ultimately getting to state 4? Curious to see what people are saying. And Rupal, do you want to give any perspective on that? What do you think is getting in the way of salespeople getting to state 3 or state 4?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it can be comfort, sometimes comfort and experience, I would say. We have Kent here saying the same thing, depending on the level of experience and skill. A lot of people on the sales team are working towards getting to level 4.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. So let's just take a look at what is getting in the way. So when we took a look at, there's this 1, 2, and then we've got this gap. We call it the tenacity gap at Teneo. So let's just take a look at this. The first thing is, it's your customer's view of you. They view you as an order taker, somebody who can process their order, right? They may view it as consultative, but do they view you as an expert? So the first thing that gets in the way is your customer's view of you. And even then the self-talk it has on the sales team. Secondly is customer IQ. Many salespeople will have incredible knowledge of their product, their industry. But one of the things, in order to be able to get to that state 3 and state 4 and stay there, is salespeople really need to have a much stronger understanding of their customer's business. Where is their vision and goals for the next 3 years? How are they navigating and overcoming COVID? What do they have as their strategies and initiatives, product launches, new ways to be able to earn business in 2022? So really being able to have that customer IQ. Third is a lot of salespeople are so busy that they've become more reactive than proactive. And as our mantra talks about, in order to be successful to that next level of sales excellence and to get to state 3 and 4, you truly have to be strategic, proactive, and brave. And lastly is what we see too often. Salespeople see an opportunity. A customer wants this. They get excited. And what happens is sales professionals will sell too soon. So we need to stop them selling too soon by just saying, yes, absolutely, we can help you with this product, but let me just ask a few more questions to really understand how you're going to use this product, or what are your plans or demand even for 2022, especially when we're taking a look at how supply and demand is making such an impact, and in some cases, even a havoc on many different industries. So those are the 4 key gaps that are getting in the way of getting to step number 3 or state number 4 and being able to stay there. So the question then is, what state do you want to be able to get into it, and what can you do? What really is the secret weapon? In working with many different sales leaders, sales teams, in a variety of different industries, here's what we've realized. The secret weapon is truly the leader. Because just like every sports team, you really do need a leader and a coach who is coaching, practicing, being able to push people out of those lower zones, out of their comfort zone to the top high performance states. That's the secret weapon, is the sales leader. And the sales leader who has that vision, who sees the potential of their sales team and believes in their sales team even more than the sales team believes in themselves. So what can a leader do in order to be able to do that? So we're going to look at that as to what sales leaders can do, or even what sales professionals can do. But the real difference is sales leaders can truly be better coaches, just like in sports, in order to be able to help get to the next level. When we look at this, and when we've done lots of different analysis in working with teams, and then looking at what really does help some teams move to that along with their sales leaders. And so what we've realized is it's a combination of both will and skill. Because there are many salespeople, sales professionals, who are really good at asking questions, but don't always have the will to do so. So again, we'll take a look at what will and skill are required to be successful, not only in just regular sales, but the new hybrid sales role, because it's not going away, and the opportunity to be able to really maximize that. So we like to use the OMG, the Sales Effectiveness and Improvement Analysis Tools. This is an incredible evaluation and an assessment tool that actually help you to determine, does your sales team have the will and skill to be a high performer in a hybrid selling world? And what's really, really cool here is this gives us the opportunity to be able to take a look at the competencies of will, such as passion and desire, commitment. Now, most sales professionals will say, oh yeah, I'm committed to sales. But the definition of commitment is going above and beyond, outside your comfort zone. So that's the willingness to be able to move out of 2 or 3 into those next states. And what we've observed during the past 18 months is there's a level of COVID complacency. Many salespeople don't want to embrace virtually and in a really robust way to take a look at how they could use virtual selling as a really effective tool. Right? How they can rework their territories. No longer are you just committed to a geography territory, you can now actually work anywhere. So again, the ability to be able to do that. So again, it takes a look at the will, right? And there we go, will, coachable, the DNA, right? And then the selling competencies. Because again, what we've realized is as long as you got the will, you can gain skill. But if you've only got skill and you don't have the will, it's going to be like taking a large medicine ball and carrying it up those 4 states. It's going to be heavy and difficult. And I know many sales leaders who feel just that way, and that their sales team is in behind them, right? And they're marching forward. So again, this is a great tool to be able to make sure that you do have the right team in place, or to help really diagnose. Just like in sports, They evaluate, they look at all sorts of different ways, like a golf swing, right? How do you really evaluate so that you can take a look at where are your strengths, where are the areas of improvement, and where are some of those blind spots? Because even myself have realized some of the blind spots that I had, and it's through this type of tool that's helped me to be able to get through that. Now, what's cool about this then is it not only looks at each individual person, but here's where we can start to take a look at how do you have that high performing team? So again, we can then take a look at this and look at how do you actually look at what your team is scoring, then how do you compare to other teams in your industry, and then all other teams, right? As we can see, there's only certain competencies that'll be in the green zone, which is the high performing zone. That's that state 4. So again, it will help you to take a look at this, right? In this particular case, this team is doing an incredible job of reaching the decision makers. However, when they're doing that, they're not asking enough consultative questions in order to really qualify and understand what the customer is looking for. But then we can take a look at this. Let's dig a little bit deeper into consultative selling. In order to become more proficient at consultative selling, what do they need to do? So it helps us understand the ability to listen, ask with ease, ask enough questions, but not just enough questions, some of those really great questions and even those really tough questions. So again, this provides an incredible tool to help you to dig a little bit deeper to, again, see the strengths and then where are the gaps. What I'd like to do is to share 3 key pieces of advice that I think are valuable and instrumental in being able to be successful in this new hybrid selling role. And again, if anybody has any questions, we'll have some time to be able to do some questions very, very shortly. So the most critical strategy in order to be effective in a hybrid selling role and be able to accelerate your sales performance this fall and into 2022 is learning how to be able to build trust and rapport virtually. Last year, I will admit, was a dismal year. We are a sales training organization where we were spending every week working with a different team, traveling. And when COVID happened, we did all sorts of things in order to be able to help sales teams. One of them was our offer, our give, get, gain. But here's what we did. We did those and we asked people to turn on their camera, because what we found is most sales professionals and buyers were feeling really, really disconnected. And we've learned you can create that human connection by embracing video, turning on your camera, building rapport, trust, and it replaces the need for face-to-face meetings, or at least replaces the need for most face-to-face meetings. As a result of being able to do this, it was a tough, tough year, but we worked extremely hard. And I am absolutely thrilled that this year we have actually secured more new customers and some of our biggest customers to date. And we haven't even met their VP of sales, their owner, or the sales team. We're doing everything virtually. The sales calls, the consultative selling solutions, presenting the proposals, and the training. 98% of our business is all being done virtually, and we're having our best year ever. So it can be done. And I cannot wait to meet several of the VPs and the sales teams that we've worked with, but we've been able to build trust, and they've become some of our newest best friends since COVID. The next piece that we want to be able to take a look at here is the importance to be able to really get good at consultative selling through a virtual conversation. What we're observing is too many salespeople are hiding behind their cell phone, their email. You can really have a purposeful consultative conversation to learn more about their business, their goals, and the impact COVID has had. So we've actually developed what we call the purpose framework. It's a simple framework. We're not about sophisticated sales, but again, this is the opportunity to take a look at what many salespeople are doing, but not always consistently or in this order. So it's about being able to prepare for that meeting, understanding your customer, their personality styles, their buying role, their generations, building rapport virtually or face-to-face. Establishing the purpose of our conversation is, because too many salespeople have wasted their time. That's why they're not giving you time in their meetings or only scheduling 10 minutes. The opportunity to ask open-ended questions, more and better questions. Next is the S. You don't sell to the S in purpose. And this is where we see too many sales professionals selling too soon. You want to summarize, not summarize the next steps, summarize what's most important to the customer. What are their plans and goals for 2022? Summarizing and then being able to provide solutions that help to solve those problems, but go beyond solving problems, helping them to identify their goals and solutions. And then lastly, executing next steps. 50% of salespeople do not actually secure the next meeting. And even if you were doing this face-to-face, you can then schedule the next meeting virtually. You don't have to get back in your car and be able to present that. So that is the purpose conversation. And again, many people really, really like this simple framework. It's simple, it's grassroots, it's conversational. So it doesn't sound like you're trying to use a stringent type of model. If you like this template, we've got this available on our website at teneoresults.com, and you can download this template, okay, to be able to do that. So again, it helps you to take a look at what do you need to do to prepare for the meeting, and then the ability to actually what you can do. And what's nice about virtually is I can literally have this template with my cheat sheets right beside here. Customer doesn't even know. So again, it gives you that opportunity to be able to have all those questions walk through so you can consistently deploy that consultative selling method. The third is not providing quotes. Quotes are all about product and price conversations. Consultative sellers who are at that state 3 or state 4 are presenting solutions to solve a problem. They're providing a proposal, because the reality is emailing a quote or a specification won't get you a yes. My husband and I are in the midst of building a home, and we've had the opportunity to work with all sorts of different salespeople, some really great ones and some not so good ones. Here is what I recommend. I've had all sorts of people email me a quote. I had one particular person do it on a Sunday afternoon. She was working hard to be able to do this. I have to admit, the price for this particular product was far more expensive than my husband and I anticipated. We had sticker shock. And when she followed up, my husband exactly said that. Well, this was a lot more expensive than what we anticipated. So he said, you know what? We feel that we need to be able to get a couple of other proposals, right? And she said, that's fine. But again, when we realized it, she was in the ballpark, right? We were the ones who needed to be educated. But by just emailing that quote to us, she didn't have the opportunity to handle our objections, educate us on why, or what were the options that gave the different reasons for the pricing. So again, huge believer in being able to look at how do you provide, I like to be able to call them working proposals, where you can collaborate with your customers. And the cool things that you can do is be able to take a look at how you can annotate and draw, just like I was doing on this presentation. You can show videos, do a product demo. If you're presenting to a committee, you could get polls, use the chat box. One particular of our clients, Stack Tech, actually went back, demonstrated with a virtual robotics solution. What their CEO told me was that in order to be able to earn the business, right, and be able to show the ROI, it takes grit. You're gonna have to move out of your comfort zone, be innovative, and that's exactly what we've seen a lot of sales professionals do. Be agile, flexible, think outside the box in order to be able to do that. So let's get your input. Back to the Q&A box there. What will and skill do you feel is most important for sales professionals to master to be successful in that hybrid role? So let's, again, put that input there, or again, if you want to start being able to put in your questions, we're going to have time for questions during the Q&A today. So Rupalin, do we have anybody with stating what will and skill do they feel is most important? She's intently looking at the box.
No worries. So far, we've had somebody who's identified a little bit of a bottleneck, more so. So Kate is mentioning that there's some, some old dogs on the team who are not open to learning new strategies. And I know that there's a big transition that has to be made from moving away to kind of the older version of selling to the more tech savvy, tech titan type selling world.
Absolutely. And I think this is where we need to really understand where's the resistance level, because in this particular case, we have to identify the will first before we can actually train them on the skill. So what's the resistance? And that's exactly what we were doing with our Road Warrior and Tech Titans program. It was focused on 3 key things. It was on mindset, right? Consultative selling skills, and then the technology skills. So I think really what you have to do is understand, and again, I think, did they refer to them as old dogs? Is that what they said? Yes. Okay. Gee, I think that's what many salespeople are known as, the old dogs. And we need to understand, because here's what's interesting. We actually saw it was just not only the old dogs, it was some of the younger pups who didn't want to turn their cameras on, right? So again, I think it doesn't matter whether they've got 2 months, 2 years, or 20 years. We need to understand the will. What's their mindset? Really try to understand what's their level of resistance. And a lot of people, I think, just kind of want to put the pause on. Oh yeah, this will blow over. I can speak to them via telephone. It's not blowing over. So again, I think we need to understand back then and even today, what really is the level of resistance. Okay, excellent. Any other will and skill, and we can start to talk about taking some of the questions.
We've got some great ones here, Lisa. We have building rapport is a great skill. We have empathy and curiosity. And a really important one, turning yourself into a trusted partner of the client.
Yeah, absolutely. Empathy and curiosity, I think, are great characteristics or traits, because these days we need to be empathetic as to what's going on, and curious, just simply asking more and better questions. And what's really kind of cool is I had a client, Jim, who works for Meridian Credit Union. And Jim and I worked together for a number of years. And when we started communicating virtually, I could actually tell that he had a really kind of cool background. And I said, Jim, where are you working from? And what I learned that I did not know before is that Jim actually lives in a renovated church. So again, I think it's kind of cool where people are allowing their backgrounds. Some people don't want to do that from privacy. But again, it's like opening your home and letting people in, right? So again, you can be a little bit curious as to how people are living and how they're actually being able to adapt. So I think that curiosity is good. And lastly, being curious about what are they planning for 2022.
We've got a couple of other great comments here, Lisa, if you don't mind. So people are experiencing COVID complacency, hanging on to working from home and not wanting to try new things to be successful in this new environment, for sure.
Yeah, so interesting. I mean, it's kind of role reversed where people couldn't wait to get to their homes. And so it's interesting, the definition of COVID complacency, you're right, is either people have got complacent and want to now work from their home and don't want to actually leave. So again, I think that's going to be a nice hybrid. I mean, here I am downtown Toronto for a couple of days this week, and it gives me the flexibility to be able to actually working from a hotel room and the ability to be able to still be downtown. So it's going to be nice to be able to have that flexibility. And I think it's important to be able to have that variety, even if you worked in a different part of your home, if you're able to do that. Or the ability, we're seeing lots of organizations saying, hey, we want everybody in the offices on Tuesdays, or giving that flexibility, just so it puts that variety. But I think we can all maximize our return on time invested where we don't have to do all that travel time. Any other questions or comments that we're seeing, Ruplin?
Yeah, we have a couple. So another great skill is good discovery and diagnostic skills, how to define what problem needs solving and the desired outcome.
Yes, yes. And certainly this is where we want salespeople to really develop those skills, right? And that's developing that business acumen. And that's where a lot of really great technical or engineers, they're great at problem solving. And again, the ability, what we have learned in working with so many technical salespeople is sometimes they're afraid to ask too many questions. But as long as you're curious and you are really trying to get to the root of the problem, clients will talk and allow you the time if they feel that it truly is helping to get to the root of the problem.
Thanks, Lisa. And one last one here that was really great. For leadership, practice what you preach.
Yes. So did they elaborate on that? Practice what you preach.
Not yet, but we can ask them to.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Okay, yes. I'm curious what they want to be able to do. So again, you're right. The leaders, VPs of sales, director of sales, they need to model a consultative selling approach. We actually had, we just did some focus groups with some of our clients and sales leaders, because we include a sales practicum and kind of a way to be able to demonstrate a salesperson's skills, which helps to prepare for the CPSA designations. And so one of the sales leaders said, he's now, a salesperson will call and say, hey, I've got a really great meeting, I can't wait. And the sales leader has actually said, okay, that's great. Let's book a meeting in my calendar, 48 hours, fill out that purpose template, because he just doesn't want to actually have the salesperson go, yeah, I've got a great meeting, going, okay, how are you adapting to their personality style? How are you understanding that customer and their business? How are you using the purpose template in order to better prepare? And that sales leader is doing an incredible job of saying, you have to have that filled out, book it 48 hours in advance in my calendar so that we can strategically better prepare for that meeting. He's a great example of being able to model it.
Agreed, Lisa. We have them elaborating on their point here as well. So lead generation helps support sales professionals to focus on sales. Your team may struggle if they have to find leads, calls, book consultations and demos. A balance is a must, meaning if I'm telling my team to do something as a sales manager, I should be in field putting that into effect, as opposed to saying, try this and see if it works.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very good. Absolutely. So then what's great is that's a working sales leader, right? And what's also great is, we will admit with my team of at Teneo and our trainers, when we already had been doing virtual follow-up group coaching calls for years. So it was easier for us to transition, not easy, easier. And however, our team together, and we all figured it out. And I myself got in there and said, okay, how do we use more of the functions of Zoom? What else can we be doing? And together we worked and figured that out, and had the opportunity to be able to get much better at our own craft. So here's where we want to be able to take a look at. And again, if we've got some more questions, we can take those, Rupal. I think we still have a few minutes. But my question to everyone on today's session, or if you're listening to the recording or some of the other great sessions here through the CPSA Summit, is your action, right? What are your team's sales performance gaps? What are their strengths first? Let's focus on their strengths. What are the gaps? What is that level of resistance, right? And let's certainly have a conversation, because we'd be more than happy to have a conversation to be able to help you look at what you can do to be able to help transition those sellers, including those old dogs or those young pups. So here's where you can actually be in touch with us. Certainly reach out to me. There's my mobile phone, text, my email address. Go to our website. We're happy to be able to have a conversation, and look forward to working with many, many different sales organizations who we are just so, so proud of being able to work with, who've actually moved through the 4 states of the consultative selling. Sometimes they go back and forth, but teams like Alexandria Molding, Resource Group, Trimec are all great organizations who've been able to actually move through to the top of those 4 states of consultative selling. So, Rupal, do we have any more questions?
We do, Lisa, and we do have a few minutes. So
okay,
if you'd like to enter any of your questions into the Q&A widget, which is on the right-hand side of your screen, please feel free to do so. But we can start here, Lisa. What is the best way to motivate sales professionals to become tech titans if they're just not tech savvy?
So what we've realized is the best way to motivate them is give them the opportunity to be able to practice. So one of the things that we did with our Road Warriors to Tech Titans program is we just literally did sessions where we help people to practice. We would go, okay, let's go into Teams, like change your background. Let's go on to Zoom. Let's see the difference between Zoom and Teams. What we discovered is most people were afraid. But what we wanted to be able to do, and what you can do, is literally do practice and working sessions. Just again, like sports. The only way you're going to get better is to be practicing. So again, rather than just, people don't need more academic or theory-based training sessions. The ability to actually practice, actually move around, do breakout rooms, show screens, will help them to be able to embrace those technology skills. And if my mom, who's 75 years old, has been able to figure out how she can do all of these things, so can all of the sales professionals.
Thanks so much, Lisa. That was really motivating. The next one here is, what is the best approach to have leads readily available for a team to tackle strategically?
So certainly we've had to learn to be more creative in order to be able to generate those leads. So certainly we've seen lots of really great lunch and learns. We created what we called Give, Get, Gain, education sessions. So being able to invite people to do that. We've seen lots of our clients be able to do that. They're smaller groups, but much better quality leads, being able to do that. And then therefore, by being interactive, you can find out what interests people. How do they answer the polls? So that it makes it easier for you to reach out and say, hey, you know, you were part of the 52% that said this in the poll, right? So again, the opportunity to be able to do kind of educational virtual sessions will help to be able to do that. One of the things, and the reason why we are having our best year ever, is because we've made more time to selling. Most times we're traveling. So again, the opportunity for your sales teams to be able to do that. We worked with lots of different teams to help generate those leads. Asking for referrals is the most effective way to do that. Salespeople are, again, afraid to do that. So what they would do is to be able to create different blocking time, blitzes, and then doing a 4 o'clock daily huddle. So there was also a level of accountability, saying, okay, how many calls did you do? How many new leads did you generate? What's working, right? So again, the opportunity to be able to create some momentum, some motivation, have some fun, a little bit of competition, so that people are not feeling so isolated. So those are some ways to be able to generate those leads. It's got to be a collaborative team effort.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was a great response. This next question I think is very relevant with the way the job market is moving right now. How do we best address the talent gap considering the numbers of sales role vacancies today? How can we best tap into new sources of sales talent?
So there's a number of different things. I mean, here's one of the greatest things is there were a lot of people who didn't want to go into sales because they felt that they had to travel. There's now the flexibility of being able to work from home. So again, I think this is the opportunity to look at other types of roles that may be interested in sales because there's not going to be the traveling component. I know CPSA is working very, very closely with the colleges and universities. This is our greatest place to be able to do that. And I think the opportunity to be able to bring interns in place and help introduce them to sales. We've got one of our clients, they've got a sales intern, and I said, bring him onto the sales training. Let's give him introduction, because it's sad that even after 25 or 30 years, there's still a stereotype of what sales is about. So I think we need to do a better job of educating college and university students, business students, marketing students of what sales is and what it can be. Most Gen Z and millennials want to be entrepreneurs. We all know that you can truly be an entrepreneur, and it's like running your own business as part of your territory. So I think sales is a really, really viable career. And again, educating college and university students is one great way to do that.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was a jam-packed question and answer period, but those are all of the questions that we had today. I want to thank you so much for such a fantastic session and for being with us here today live.
Super, Rupelin, and I'm glad we were able to make this live. Thank you so, so much. Great pleasure, and always welcome working with CPSA. We've done so for the last 15 years and continue to want to do so. So thank you very much. All the best with your summit. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. So we've got about 10 minutes until our next session with Earl Robertson, and we'll see you at about 3:30.
See everybody. Thanks, Rupelin.